We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
With the explosion at the Kakhovka power plant, which breached the dam, we see blame from both sides. Russia blaming Ukraine, Ukraine blaming Russia for what is clearly quite an ecological and humanitarian disaster, as well as quite likely a military boon to one side or the other. Now, to figure out what we think is happening, because obviously we don't have the whole answers here, we're joined by Liberty Nation's military affairs correspondent, retired Air Force pilot, and former Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Comptroller, Mr. Dave Patterson. Thanks for being with us, Dave.
Thank you, Mark. Happy to be with you.
So, Dave, first, for anybody who hasn't caught the news, what's happened in Ukraine here?
Well, early in the morning of the 6th of June, several explosions took place on the Kakhovka Dam in southeastern Ukraine. The dam is located about 33 miles south of Kherson City, southeast of Kherson City. And the consequence of it is that there was significant flooding. President of Ukraine, Zelensky, called it an eco-disaster. And from the looks of the pictures, I'd say it was fairly extensive, causing a lot of problems. On the Russian side of this city that is disputed and is about the Russians evacuated about 25,000 people by rail. The Ukrainians on their side about 17,000. And as you said, both sides are pointing the finger at the other and claiming that the other is responsible.
Okay, now there's quite the consensus. I was watching something called Euronews a couple of days ago, and it's as bad as it sounds. They had Jens Stoltenberg of the UN. They had a number of EU figures. They had a number of European leaders, including Olaf Scholz, all talking about how this is an attack by Russia and it's a war crime. Now, we obviously know that Russia has in the past been willing to engage in this kind of behavior before. But we also have people on the other side of the argument, and these are not, I'm loath to say this because this is very much a left-wing media kind of thing, but they're supporting the Russian position on this issue, as in they're saying that it doesn't make sense for Russia to do it on this occasion. And these are some notable people, and I think, in all fairness, they've looked at the evidence and they've drawn their conclusions, and the other side has looked at its evidence and drawn its conclusions. But Dave, you are a keen student of geopolitical situations, military history, military stratagem. What's your take?
Well, I think that you have to look at this from the standpoint of who benefits. And to be perfectly candid, it's a toss-up here, but I think that the ball lands in the Russian court as to who benefits. The Russians have not done well. They have been summarily beaten in several recent clashes and on the battlefield. They're not doing well overall, and they're using up their ammunition and they're having trouble with logistics. So they could not afford to have the counteroffensive that everyone is expecting eminently to be successful in the Kherson Oblast, which is a contested area. So having it flooded will cause that counteroffensive to be retarded significantly, perhaps even stopped.
Yeah, I do see your point with this because obviously during the winter season, any counteroffensive or even offensive from the Russian side can't really happen because moving transports over great distances, heavy machinery, weaponry, troops even, and they kind of get bogged down because it's not like the highways, right? It's not, they don't have highways running left and right through Ukraine. And so if there's flooding in a region, now Kherson is pretty much under Russian control at present. Is that right?
Yes, it is. The Russians control the greater part of what's called the Kherson Oblast.
And so a flooding would stop any counter incursion coming in, at least until it rolls around till the end of summer, when any counter incursion would again become pretty much impossible logistically. Is that about right?
I think that's fair. Yes. I mean, tanks don't do well in mud, nor do trucks,
No.
and
Neither do I.
yeah, well, exactly. So, also, I think that anything that would retard or slow down potential counteroffensive on the Ukraine side is going to be useful for the Russians, because then they will have at least some time in that area to reinforce and resupply and get but their troops that are there up to speed. And it is interesting, I thought, that just as an aside,
Nice.
in terms of internecine battles amongst the Russians, that the Wagner group attacked the Russian troops in the area. So, they've got their problems, and the flooding, gives them a little time in that area.
In that
Mind you,
area, at least, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, moving on from threats in Eastern Europe, let's talk about threats from a little further away quite quickly, Dave. There's a recent whistleblower saying that the US government has recovered intact alien craft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the whistleblower is apparently a credible person, from what I'm gathering so far. What's your take on it? It's somebody who has walked the halls of Foggy Bottom. What's your take?
Yes, I mean, he is a former Air Force officer with time in Afghanistan, and so he's got some level of credibility. But when it comes to these kinds of stories, and it's gotten a lot of traction here in the U.S. I mean, you have to start to look at what's actually going on here. And most of the time, you have just a whole lot of assertions, and nobody actually has the physical evidence in their hands or photos of it. I mean, if they did, they'd show it, right? I mean, that would you'd think that in order to say, oh yes, I've got it, and here's a picture, but they don't. It's always third hand, and I heard from, haven't seen it myself, but credible source. I think emblematic of the issue is the statement by one of the contributors, and that is that we know that the evidence is, although the evidence is of unknown origin, we're confident that it's a non-human technology. Think about that a second. We don't know what it is, but we're sure about that.
Dave, I'll keep watching the skies. Thanks ever so much for joining us.
You bet, Mark. Happy to be with you.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone. Hosted by Liberty Nation's Lisa K. Donner. Joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors. Deconstructing leftist narratives. Debating the hot topics. And remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe space.
You only did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.